for decades, for ages, or rather, as you would argue, from the beginning of time, Africa has been considered the dark continent. Maybe because of our skin tone, or maybe because of our slow pace in development. But why is that? Are we sons of a lesser God, or do we have predicaments which we brought upon ourselves that have derailed us? Welcome to Real Talk Show. I'm your host, Haima Simon. And today I'm joined by my co-host, and our special guest today.
Yeah, Julius, the one and only. So we are here to inject.
Yes, as you've heard, we are here to inject. Welcome to the show. So my guest, my co-host, you guys are okay? You are ready?
Of course.
And so today we begin with why are we behind as a continent, as Africa? Why do you feel we are lagging behind? Allow me to start with you, Julius.
Okay, so there are a couple of reasons why we are lagging behind. First of all, we are still holding on to the artificial, let me call them artificial boundaries which were created in Berlin. And we are not ready to let that thing go because we are yet to discover ourselves, right? Yeah, we are still being governed by the foreign interference.
Yeah, the neo-colonialism as people will argue.
Exactly.
Willie Wizzy, why is Africa behind?
Africa is behind because as citizens, we don't make the right decisions when it comes to elections. You find that African states elect corrupt leaders, and these corrupt leaders, they're the ones who throw us in those holes we are in right now. So when Africa will have the right leaders that will lead them, will meet the standards that other continents are in up to now.
Yeah, you've mentioned the issue to do with the decisions which we make on the ballot.
Yes.
And Julius has mentioned the issue of the division, the partitioning and scramble of Africa, which took part in the division of Africa. And to start again with you, Julius, what do you think will have been the impact of Africa being a united continent? Africa speaking in one voice.
Well, Africa speaking in one voice will bring the dividends of speaking in one voice are so numerous and are so obvious. Yeah, so Africa, first of all, the problem is that we elect leaders who are thieves, who are corrupt. Yeah, and these people, their lives are based on a foundation of corruption, and they are yet to. It is so hard for them to let that thing go. In Africa, particularly in Kenya, those people in government, the political system, those people who engage in corruption directly love it. And we who engage in corruption indirectly, we accommodate it. So, we as a whole, we have a common responsibility. And that is what the problem is.
Yeah, Julius, you mentioned the issue to do with electing corrupt leaders who are corrupt. And now this leads me to the next question, which I'll channel to you, Willie Wizzy.
Yes.
We elect corrupt leaders, which means they are already corrupt.
Yes.
How have they become corrupt? Have we normalized a society that upholds corruption? Or is it a whole system error?
I think what happens is that we as voters, we have the ignorance part of it. That when somebody is corrupt, he will come with the tribal mentality that, we find when somebody is facing corruption allegation, it will come that, they're targeting this tribe, they're targeting our tribe, they don't want us, instead of saying this particular person needs to answer some corruption allegation. So when it comes to ballot, these people will come with that narrative. They didn't want me, that's why they put this corruption allegation. And the people will fall for it. When they fall for it, the guy gets elected again, and the guy just pick it from where he or she left. So that's the problem. The cycle continues. Ukiangalia Kenya for the last almost 60 years, it has been the same thing. Every leader in those positions, most of them, they have corruption allegations, but none of them has ever been persecuted. They always go through, they pass the IBC verifications, zinaenda through zote, and they ikifika kwa ballot, the citizens, the voters, they still vote for them. Why? Because they have money and they have the influence. So that's the main problem, ignorance.
Yeah, you mentioned a very good point, ignorance. Julius, will you agree with me if I say the society has contributed to the problem which we have right now? And also, as you further elaborate, explain to us where has this Mtu Wetu narrative led us?
Well, we have ethnicized politics. There's a saying which goes, the problem is not the song, but he who sings the song. In Africa, we hold elections, and those elections are typically a way of, it's just a census to show which tribe has more or large numbers in the society. So that is the problem. Now you see, when we talk about corrupt people, you hear certain tribes saying, ni mtu wetu, wacha tukae na yeye. That is one major cause of this issue of corruption in our society, ethnicity. Another thing is that, for example, let me jump into the issue of democracy. It is the high time for Africa to define for themselves what democracy is, because we are currently misusing the word democracy, and we are not practicing it. For example, in the British context, we hear about the loyal opposition. When you go to the United States, you hear about the electoral colleges. So, are we applying the same thing, or okay, I don't know how to put it. So, we should
applying the same thing?
It is a high time for Africa to define for themselves what democracy is, rather than holding on to what we have been told this is democracy. And this democracy thing is dividing us.
Yeah, true.
The divide and rule tactic, which is used by the Western.
Yeah, you mentioned the issue on democracy, and democracy involves going to make decisions on the ballot. Okay. In Africa, are decisions made on the ballot? Do these people determine the people who will get to power, or do we have an influence? Do we have an outside influence on the elections?
Yeah, basically, there must be an foreign interference on who wins the election. In Africa, we elect the very worst people to lead us based on ethnic grounds.
Yeah.
So that is the major issue Africa, or rather Kenya, should deal with first for us to get to liberation.
Yeah, the ethnical, we need to deal with the ethnical thing. Willy Wizzy, how far do we need to go before we can get out of this storm of ethnicity and tribal politics? Tuache watu wa kusema sijui usiguze mlima, wengine wanasema Nyanza is a Baba stronghold. How long do you think it will take us to be able to get out of this storm?
I think we'll get out of this hole when we as citizens realize that these politicians are not for us, they're for themselves. They have their own interest and not our interest. This ethnical thing, this tribal thing they always come up with is just to safeguard their own interest, not our interest. So when we have that civic education, the people will come to be aware that we don't need the leaders. We need leaders who will work for us. So when we want to get out of this hole, we don't want leaders who will come to tell us that let's vote along this tribal line. Let's do this along this tribal line. That's why we are lagging behind. You find when we stop voting along tribal lines, mimi nasemanga tuchague mtu hata wa Ethiopia akuja kwa president Kenya, as long as he's going to deliver to Kenyans, than having a person from Nyanza, a person from Central, from Kalenjin, from Coast, yet is somebody who is coming mimi ni mtu wa kutoka mlima, mimi ni mtu wa kutoka Rift Valley, mimi ni mtu wa kutoka Nyanza, unaona. That thing will not, Kenya is not for like a particular place. Kenya is tuko united as a country, so we need a leader who will unite us and will give us equal development. That's how we will compete with other nations. We compare Kenya to countries like Senegal, countries like Botswana, countries like Egypt. They are way behind, above us because of this ethnicity thing. We elect leaders based on ethnical dynasty. People who have, you must have a name for you to be a leader in Kenya. No?
Yeah.
So when we handle that, I think we very like to compete in our say.
Yeah,
like
we've
they are.
spoken about that, the way we can get out of the storm. But now back to the main issue of concern, where we talk about the corruption, right? We believe it has become an excuse. It has become something which is normalizing the governance. Now, the first question I'd like to pose to you guys is, as Kenyan countries, do we collect enough in terms of revenue generation and the taxes and everything? Do we collect enough? And if we collect enough, where does that money go? And what avenues of corruption have these leaders started to use to bring our country to its knees? Is it through the foreign debt? Is it through the fake project? So we need to shed light on that.
Well, many a times we try to rationalize what corruption is, but we all know what corruption is. For example, you are in the road there, you're with your car, and you give an officer money to avoid prosecution. That is corruption. For example, you are an holder of public office, and then you use that office for personal gain. That is corruption. Okay, so basically corruption is engaging in activities of stealing what does not belong to you. That is corruption. In Africa, the political class, their lives, I said their lives are based on a foundation of theft,
Yeah.
of corruption.
Yes.
Okay, and those people, you know, for example, let's see let's go to Tanzania. The time of Magufuli, you saw the enthusiasm with which those people embraced Magufuli, because his campaigns were based on fight against corruption. But again, when you declare war against corruption, then those people in power, those people who are above you, or those government officials will want to liquidate you.
Yeah.
Okay, so it creates fear among people.
Yeah. You
by so
mentioned.
doing,
Yes. Proceed.
You are operating on a line of fire.
Yes.
And you saw what happened to Magufuli. You saw what happened to Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. Yeah, so Africa, we have enough to feed our own people. We have enough solar energy to light the entire Africa and even beyond Africa. We have so many resources to feed our own people, but the problem is the political system.
Yeah, true. On top of whatever you said, you mentioned the issue of Muammar Gaddafi. Back when Muammar Gaddafi was the president of Libya, we had students who are studying from Libya, they were studying in China. At that time, those students, at the end of each month, they were sent upkeep, and upkeep by the government, despite being abroad. But you find nowadays, you find the government has limited. For instance, if you are a student studying abroad, there are some benefits which cannot be able to enjoy. The same thing with when you mentioned Magufuli. And when Magufuli passed, there's this prominent clip of him which was saying, na najua nikikufa mtakumbuka alikuwepo Magufuli. Na najua mtanikumbuka kwa mazuri na si kwa mabaya. You find that we have the few who are willing to take the bull by its horns. They are tamed, they try to be tamed and everything. For instance, you find the whole government is so corrupt to the extent that when we tell a certain president, now you need to take all your ministers home, there's a pretense that they are gone and then they have to recycle them. Or is it that they are fellow thieves? Or what is it? Is it that they're only qualified people to govern?
The problem is these people, they still together. They still as a team. Let me give you this example. we are friends, we loot together. There's no way you want to exclude me from looting. I know you loot, and you want me to go home so that I can leave you to loot. There's only one option. Either recycle me, reshuffle me, or I break the silence. No. So you find when a leader is elected, he has some support system that are not leaders, that is made up of looters. So you come with these looters into government, and when these looters come into government, they do not want to offer services. That money that is allocated for services, they end up sharing this money. So same way when you are the president, you have the Kenyans' interest at heart, but the people surrounding you cannot give you that environment to work. Why? These are people who came here to loot. At first you had the same agenda, but in the course of the journey, you feel like, let me start working for Kenyans. They will not allow you to work. Why? This is not what we came for. That's why I drive you back to that nilikuwa nakwambia ya. We don't need to elect leaders based on ethnical. Elect leaders, appoint leaders based on integrity, qualification. Let me give you an example of President Uhuru's government. Uhuru had a good government to sample an example from. It worked, ilijaribu kuwork. Why? Because brought in people, men and women, that we never knew. People worked, hata kama kulikuwa na some cases of corruption here and there, but they were not too much. So corruption starts when you bring people who cannot work. People
So
just
the incompetent people when they come into office, they are the beginning of corruption.
Yeah. Corruption
So-
naanza kwa ballot, ikishatoka kwa ballot, simechagua those bad leaders.
Yes.
They get in, they bring in friends.
Now
People
they
who
continue the
sponsor them,
cycle.
they continue the cycle. When they are done, they sponsor other people, and the cycle rotates.
Yeah, allow me to cut you short on that and echo the point you've said. Corruption begins when we elect incompetent leaders.
Yes.
Julius, if we elect competent leaders, can we get rid of corruption? Is it possible?
It is possible, but now the problem is that corruption is everywhere in corruption, and those people, when they get into power, you can see the context of Professor PLO Lumumba. He tried to vie for parliamentary seat, and he did not give incentives to the citizens or to the residents of the same constituency.
The area constituency.
Yeah, so he did not bribe them. He did not show the corruption bit. So these people want to be, I said, we who do not engage in corruption directly accommodate it. So it is us who do not voice our views, or rather we voice our views, but we accommodate corruption by taking that 100 bob, that 50 bob, which you are being given by a politician. And when a person who does not give us those incentives, when he doesn't do so, we do not elect him. So the problem starts with us. We are the problem. And unless we refuse to take those 50 bobs and 100 bobs, then corruption will not end.
Yeah, corruption will not end. Back to the electoral thing, or maybe a leader when a leader is in power. In the Western countries, it is a norm to see a president just walking on the streets without people getting excited and running to them. But now you find that, for instance, in the streets of Nairobi, if a governor just appears where there are traders, you find that people are rushing to him in the name of Muhesh toka kitu, Muhesh toka kitu. Do you think that has really contributed to these people stealing? Because if you look at it, the demand that they have from the people. For instance, for you to appear at a certain place, you need to give some handouts, you need to give some brown envelopes for you to get that reception. For instance, you saw an MP going to his area home after voting yes for the finance bill, and you find the
doing a party.
Yeah, and the people in motorbikes, they are escorting him. Those people are never idle. It's not that they don't, they have the money to do that, which means they have to pay these people to do that. We as a society, have we accepted this thing? Have we embraced it and taken care of it? We've helped to generate it.
Well, an empty stomach is a bad political advisor. And our advisors as Kenyans is our stomachs. And that is why we end up electing the very worst people. Because when they get those positions, or when they get into power, they have to first of all return their money which they used to campaign, and we do not see that. We have blindfolded our own selves. So we are our own enemy, basically.
Yes, we are our own enemy.
I think I can add something on that point, is that this mambo na handouts is that citizens have normalized being given handouts. You find during campaigns, they cannot listen to you unless you are offering some handouts, unless you are giving that unga, giving that blanket, you know. If we leaders can practice integrity, come, share your manifesto, tell us we are going to do this and this, without influencing us with money or handouts. At least we can like reduce that mambo ya sijui unatembea tao, president ni governor anatembea tao, anaitishwa handouts, you know. Well, like kama UK ama US, those leaders can walk there freely. Why? Because their story among the handouts is not there. It is service. Being a politician or being a leader in the Western countries is a service. While in Africa, being a leader is like a job. That's why they steal this money, so that when they go back to the villages, they share with you. Do you know that they share that money they loot, they share together with the people.
Yeah,
because
in the form of handouts and gifts and the
akikuja mheshimiwa unatuacha aje, they give that 1,000 bob, they fuel that motorbike. No.
Yeah.
It will come again 2027, give that handout, then you sell your vote again.
Still sell your vote.
Yeah.
What does the constitution provide for? How do we deal with corruption? Where are we supposed to take these things?
First of all, we create institutions to fight corruptions, while we do not intend to use them. For example, we have the DCI, we have other institutions to fight corruptions, but we do not intend to use them. You know?
Yeah, and on top of that, as you explained, can we say, have they weaponized the criminal justice system to fight particular people, to fight particular battles? It's being selective on the people to attack, on the people to put before the law, and the people not to.
Yeah,
is that true?
Yeah. We have the socio-economic justice, whereby in the economic justice, it talks about discrimination on the grounds of wealth and economic status. So you find that those people who are high-profile people in the government, they are untouchable. And if you try to voice something about them, about their corruption, then you are operating on a line of fire. For example, look at Iceland. The Icelandic prime minister resigned on the grounds of being associated with corruption. If you contrast that with our country, Kenya, can a president or an high-profile person who holds a big office in this nation do that? And if you try to talk about something like that, for example, they are associated with corruption, they do not see a big deal with it.
Yeah. It's become like now it's something proud to be proud of.
Exactly.
Stealing money and everything. Because there's something which I saw on the vetting of the cabinet secretaries. People ask you, what is your net worth? You say your net worth, or you are vetted close to 1.5 years ago. Your net worth was at this level. 2 years, less than 2 years into the office, your net worth has almost doubled, has increased by over 156 million. But it's like this thing is just like a ceremony. Why do they not ask the difficult question? How was this? When we are facing a very harsh economic environment, how comes your net worth is growing? This. Are you a dealer with the government? They are not supposed to be dealers with the government, which has a lot of money. So they need to actually ask the real question. You tell us, yes, my net worth is 100 shillings. How did I gain this 100 shillings? I've been on this payroll, this. I invested this money, this. But we find that you normalize, oh, what's your net worth? My net worth is 2 billion. That's okay.
It's a party.
Yeah, and it's a normal. We find that whenever somebody steals, in fact, there's somebody was trying to say that if you have to steal big, because you find the biggest of thieves. Actually, I will recommend that all those people in prisons, they should be released, because their fellow criminals are out here holding very powerful positions. Because you can not tell me, the court recently says that it is not the intention of this court to send to prison a man who's apologetic and a man who has admitted to his mistakes. How many people have apologized in courts and admitted to their mistakes and have still gone to prison? You find that the government, which is supposed to serve a common mwananchi, never even appears in court. But when it comes to a certain individual, you find the attorney general is there, members of parliament are there, everything, they are there to support them. It's like as if we elected these people to serve themselves and not to serve the community. Why is the justice applying selectively? You find that whenever you are a poor man, there's no poor justice for a poor man. You find you'll always rot in prison. Somebody who stole a chicken. Well, we have an MP who stole close to 800 million, still in power, still working scot-free. You find that youth are being arrested because of maybe airing their opinion and saying, hey, reject this, hey, we don't want this person must go. Where we have people who have been inciting criminals, people associated with Al-Shabaabs, being termed as leaders. People just give videos and saying that, oh, if they ask you what, they will have slaughtered so many people. They are still out there, going scot-free. Yet we are here to deal with the so purported small fish who are just expressing themselves. So can we depend on these courts? Can we say that they are the saving grace? When their decision, when they say this thing is unconstitutional, yet it continues to be applied.
I think in Kenya, they do not uphold the rule of law. It's just there to be displayed, but it's not being followed. The criminal justice system works for the state. It does not work for the citizen. No. It is high time that it start working for the system, for the citizens. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it will be hard for it to work for the citizen while it is being influenced and it is being ruled by the state. You find somebody who is a state in the state, deep state, is the one who's controlling justice system. Let me give you this example. Somebody has the judge has ruled something unconstitutional. You hear that the president or somebody high in the ministry saying that we don't have other option. That thing must go on. So like you wonder, who is following the law, who is not following the law.
Yeah, you mentioned a very good point on there. We don't have a service. These people, they just working for the government.
Yeah, they work for the state.
Yeah, until Julius, the issue of police has been a thorn in the flesh. Do we have a police force or a police service?
We have a police force, not a police service. And again, the judiciary should be operating independently, but unfortunately, it has been influenced by the state. It has been captured. You know, when you go to a country like China, a person who has scandals on corruption, they present themselves, and even they are unalived, you know. And then when those people come to Africa, they interact with our very corrupt leaders. So those people are contributing to corruption in Africa. And if we have to say we do not want foreign interference, we should also refuse foreign interference in terms of foreign aid. You know, in some countries in Africa, you see, even their budget is being supplemented on on foreign aid. So if we have to stop these people from interfering with us, we should also refuse
the foreign aid. And on that point of the foreign aid, where has this death gotten us into? Have we seen the value for the money which has been borrowed? And the other thing is, we've been saying that we've been continuously servicing these loans. Why are these loans not reducing? Are they avenues for stealing? Are they avenues for looting? Recently, there was some revelation on something they call odious debt. We've been paying for debt which was never there.
Yeah, shadow debt.
The shadow debts. What's happening? Is it that these people are borrowing this money to enrich themselves? You find people have offshore accounts where they're depositing lots and lots of money. You find an MP has gone and bought a ranch in Australia. They've gone and bought apartments and premises in the US. Especially on this issue of the debt, do we have enough to sustain ourselves, or are we compelled to borrow?
I think we have enough to run the government. We have excessive enough. Because there was an audit that was done by the EACC. It was saying that Kenya loses 2 billion on corruption every day. So if you budget on that, like we do on that corruption, your percent of corruption, we will have more than enough to offer services that we will not need to rely on IMF to give us loans. Okay, even if we need to rely on IMF to supplement our development projects, why are those projects not accounted for? Because we have seen this guy, this activist Morara, going around the country and exposing projects that have stalled. And these projects have stalled, and there was money that was allocated to those particular projects. So does it mean that the government is the one that stole that money, or the contractor stole that money? Because it is not making sense telling the citizen that a project worth 600 million or up to 1 billion has stalled. Why has it stalled and the money was allocated, the money was dispersed? So the problem here is corruption. We do not need that IMF money. We have enough. And even if we need to supplement, we need accountability, we need an audit. If you have a debt, we need to do an audit from when was that debt taken? Maybe from 2013 up to 2022 or 2023. How much have we borrowed? How much has it been paid? How much is remaining? So that the citizen can know what has it done, how have we benefited from it. It will be making sense that we borrowed that debt to make SGR, to make expressway that is benefiting the citizens. And should benefit the citizens.
On top of that, why is it that these things, you find that they are cutting deals to benefit the whole nation, but why is this information never publicized?
I think they don't want you to know the real truth. That's the main problem. They want you to have zero information. Because many people don't know. Like if you ask somebody, atakwambia tuko na debt ya IMF, but they don't know how much are we owing IMF. How much has it been paid? How much did we borrow? We're just told that we borrowed 1 trillion, 2 trillion, but we're not told how much. So the government should come clear and tell us, this is the amount of money that we have borrowed for a span of 10 years. This is the amount of money that we have paid, and this is what is remaining. And tell us why are we borrowing. You should not just borrow. You should borrow that tumefika hapa, budget yetu inakwama hapa. Na kwa nini inakwama? Hii deficit imekwama, inatoka wapi? Those are the questions that the government should be answering. But you find it's not happening. This is just a theory. It's not practical.
That's very true. On top of that, allow me to come back to you, Julius. There is this issue. Are we too extravagant, or are we living beyond our means? If you look at our government houses, our government buildings, our government agencies, they are one of the biggest, they are some of the biggest, they are some of the largest, they are most of the posh. Are we living beyond our means as a perceived third world country?
We are not living beyond our means, because in Kenya we have enough to feed our own people, to fund developments. But now the problem is electing corrupt leaders, because those foreign aids which come from IMF, World Bank, they have become an avenue of stealing. Yeah, so we need to vote for people who have integrity rather than popularity. And the major cause, the root cause is ethnicity.
Yeah, on top of that, you mentioned we have some leaders. Do we have leaders who are scared of doing the work? Because you find, for instance, if everybody tungekuwa tunasema come and bring your performance whatever, vis-a-vis the promises you made, you find that close to all of them they're doing nothing. Because you find when people get into office, let's say if it's in Kibra, the way Kibra was before, after years later, there's no difference. We've had leaders promising on a functional healthcare system. Years in, the healthcare system is still not working. Or is it that we have people who are very unwilling, or are they scared to work? Or they just want, allow me to use this analogy. If you voted for me because you did not have a road, I move that car road kidogo a few kilometers, and then next time I use that same thing narrative that simkubali tumalize barabara, use that. Do you think that these people are intentionally leaving us in underdeveloped setups so that they can use it as a bargaining trick, as a political tool?
Well, we may say that they are doing it willingly and they know what they are doing. You know, in the government there is a lot of intimidation. We have witnessed a lot of extrajudicial killings on people who try to do the right thing to the common mwananchi. But now the problem is their superiors. They have to tell you, hii pesa wacha tutenge tuweke hapa, and they are just filling their stomachs with that money. So yes, we have people who are willing to work for the common mwananchi. But now the people with the ideas, they do not get the opportunity to actualize them by getting the votes. Because I say the common mwananchi is, we as the common mwananchi, we are our own enemy. Because our political advisors are our stomachs. Tunakimbilia hiyo chwani na hiyo 100 bob ambayo tunapatiwa.
Yeah. And Willy Wizzy, you've mentioned the issue of the leadership. Do you think even at the small scale level, from the smallest as low as the classroom level, do you think that still applies, the corruption and everything? For instance, if we talk about the primary school, when you used to say that just because I'm talking to the prefect, I cannot be on the next makers list. You find that, you come to the university level, just because I'm a friend with this person, I'll be on the bursary list. You see, is it that something that we need to curb from that down the route?
Yeah, corruption, we cannot just wait to curb corruption at the national level. This thing needs to start down here. We can start it from campus level. We have seen how these leaders behave. These are the same leaders who will finish school, get employed, and at some point want to vie for political positions out there. We need to reflect back. What did you do while you were a student leader? In your capacity, in that small capacity, in quote, what were you able to do? Because we want to give you maybe a bigger position. So what you did with that small position you are in will influence what you can do with this big position. If somebody was stealing bursaries in campus, this person, there's no like, we cannot say that he has reformed, that he will not steal those bursaries held or stuff when he is the president or the deputy president, or when he's working the Ministry of Education, and whatever sector he or she will be working in. So this thing starts way back in school. You would go back, transition into society, you become a leader in society, and then now you progress. What is just different is the tactics that they use. Outside there are different tactics. Here, different tactics. That's what is different.
Yeah, that's very true. Back to you, Julius. Do you feel we are overrepresented? Because you find that we have members of parliament, we have members of county assembly, we have women representatives, we have senators, we have governors, we still have a president. Aren't we still have state officials we still have cabinet secretaries, different positions. We have Ministry of Agriculture there. Each county has its own ministries. Are we overrepresented?
Yeah, we are overrepresented. For example, look at some African states. You find they have a president, a vice president, too, a prime minister. You know, those many officers are, some of them are very useless, because those people come into office, we give them motorcades, a huge salary, just to go show off in their villages, you know.
In the name of homecoming parties.
Yeah, in the name of homecoming
That's very
parties.
stupid.
And that money, which we are using to pay them, to fund their lives, we could use that money to do so many stuffs. For example, you find in some hospitals, we do not have medicine, right?
Yeah.
So that money could be used to do, or to do such things, you know. And even this issue of women reps, we do not need that office, because what is their work, honestly? You know, we have women who are MPs, women who are governors. So why do we have, or why do we need the office of the women representative? It is a wastage.
It's really easy.
Yes.
On the same issue, the representation bit. Do you feel we need to tone down? Do we even need to reduce the number of counties or something?
I think what Eric Omondi was advocating for is something that's true. And I support my colleague here, we spend a lot of resources on these people. Why don't we just reduce that number to a specific reasonable number? Okay. Instead of having 47 governors, having 290 plus MPs, having the president, having the deputy president, having the CS, you have the CAS, you have the PS. So when you do a math at the end of the year for the amount of money that has been spent on just these people, not just development, these people alone, before they bring those development to the ground, a lot of money has been spent. This money can be used to do other projects, reasonable projects out there. Yeah, so, in my opinion, there are offices that we do not need. The office of the women representative. I'm not like I'm against women, but these offices are not helping women. They have failed women, and they just need to be scrapped off. That's my opinion.
Yeah, very true. And to push back on something a bit, we do not legally have CSS.
Okay.
Yeah. And as we conclude, Julius, what will be your take, your recommendation to address the government?
First of all, we should reduce those many offices which are useless. And again, we should bring into accountability those people who are engaging in corruption, or those people who have had corruption issues. Yeah, so the government and also the government should stop recycling the very same people we have been seeing since we were born. They are the same people in office. What is their work? And they have the very worst accountability. I mean, track record. You know, so they should be removed, and we should bring new tests and new people into government. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Julius. Really easy.
My parting shot is to the people. We cannot speak to the government right now because this government is beyond repair. The people, I want to tell you this, 2027 is approaching. We'll have elections. It is them to decide. Do you want to continue the system, the cycle system, or do you want change? This is the only chance that they have to bring change to this country. If they do not use this particular chance to transform the country, the political parties, the political group elites will reform and re-strategize, and they will continue ruling them. I want to tell the government is this, you need to be accountable for everything that you do. Protect lives, be accountable on resources, and be answerable where you're supposed to be answerable, and lead by example. Only that.
Yeah, and today my parting shot and my final take will be to the judiciary and to the police force. First, to the judiciary, we need equal application of the law to everyone. We need similar justice. Justice which is the same to the son of an oligarch should be the same justice to the son of a peasant farmer. We shouldn't have specific people who feel they have the wings to jump or overlook the law. We need to apply it fully and not selectively to particular people. And to the police force, or rather police service, we need a police service, not a police force. How do you feel when you go home knowing that you've just brutalized and injured an innocent child? Ask yourself, what if it were your child or your relatives? Today you are in power, but tomorrow my son or my daughter will be in power. How will you feel if it was done to someone who's close to you? Think about that. And remember, you were there to serve the Mwananchi and not to serve those in power. We are both suffering the harsh economy. We are both victims of poor leadership. While we sleep hungry in the streets, you sleep in units. Units which have never been renovated. Units which are not deserved. Units which are not worth the people who are serving the common Mwananchi. And so we need to be united for the common good. Let us stop victimizing the people we've been chosen to serve. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. It's been the Real Talk Show. Thank you very much, Julius. Thank you very much, my co-host Willie Wizzy. See you next time, same place.
Now subscribe.
Adios. Subscribe.